Hey guys, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about building Europe's first on-demand fuel business, the key takeaways of actually building out business, something that you can apply while you're looking at building a business. Make sure to like and subscribe as well if you enjoy this video. But there's a few things to think about, and I wanted to, go through that with you. So the first thing when we were looking at building Europe's first on-demand fuel business was the idea really came from a US company that was doing the same thing called Booster Fuels that were really trying to build that business up from scratch. And the the solution uh, to the problem that they were solving was really the fact that, let's say, large company fleets would have to waste time, energy, and even um, let's say fuel cards, so fraud by drivers that were stealing fuel, having buying, drivers that were buying other products in the fuel station with the fuel card that they shouldn't have been, loss of time going to the gas station, going back, loss of energy, the morale, etc. And so we were really providing a solution to that with multiple vehicles that would actually drive around, appear at your at your fleet depot and refuel all of your vehicles either in the morning or later at night. So this was really the B2B solution. It was actually, funnily enough, called a sustainable company because we were actually saving these companies a lot of gas and saving them a lot of emissions because every driver had to drive to the gas station and back, and that was causing a lot of problems and anxiety for the drivers as well as loss of fuel. And the other thing is we were helping a lot of fleet companies, for example, UPS, FedEx, control their costs, which is something that was really important to them. So we looked at the US model and we thought we could replicate that in Europe. And it turned out, you could build an MVP. So we would go around and actually contact a bunch of these, fleet companies and understand the problem, the solution. Would this actually work? Would they be willing to pay for it? How much would they be willing to pay for it? And it turned out they were willing to pay for it. And at the end of the day, we had about 100% retention rates because a lot of these companies were willing to pay for you to bring fuel to them. So that was the B2B model. That we ended up finding out there was also a B2B2C model where we could actually refuel cars while they, refuel, fleets of cars for companies while their employees were working, which was something which is also extremely interesting model. Initially, we thought about doing B2B2C model, which would actually, so B2C would actually go to every car individually, but we quickly realized this was not sustainable for a growing company. So once we had built the MVP, which was the actual vehicle, we started it, employed some drivers that were able to drive us, made sure that the process was as automated as possible. So work with technology closely. We had to make sure that, take into account, for example, traffic at that time of morning. If we had multiple, let's say, fleets of vehicles at different site locations, we would have to really estimate the timings that the drivers could get there, refuel, and then leave and go to the next site. And it usually happened in the nights and the mornings. And during the day, we would then have a B2B2C, B2B2C model where we would refuel employees' cars. So it was a really interesting kind of learning experience for us, as well as obviously a massive solution to a bunch of companies that were looking to save money and be more sustainable and fuel efficient. So, it was a win-win. So building the MVP to actually getting a bunch of drivers, starting to scale. We had 100% retention rates. I was COO for the company, so it's, on the operational side of things. But essentially, the key learnings are the difficulty that it is to actually build a business and make sure that you have demand that's constant. Obviously, fuel is a commodity, so it was a bit easier, and we found this to be a great solution. However, the key learnings would be to build an MVP, to make sure the processes are as automated as possible. So you want to make sure everything is automated, so you really don't have to. At the beginning, we were there, we were on site, trying to get things to work from scratch. But then the key learning was really to automate everything. So use the technology. Every vehicle would have a different fuel, for example. Every vehicle would have, let's say, a different fuel amount that was put into them, and we would have to automate that, send that back to headquarters, and bill the client automatically as well. So try and ensure that everything was as automated as possible, so that we wouldn't have to get hands-on involved. And then look at the various types of business models. So whether to make, because the margins on fuel are very, very small. If you knew it or not, the money in a gas station is actually made from the food that you're buying, not actually from the gas. The gas is has very small margins. But so is, could we do a franchise type model, for example? That was something that was interesting. But anyhow, we got backed by some top tier VCs, Techstars, involved in plug and play. Daimler, which is Mercedes-Benz arm, was then interested in us doing pilots with, Porsche and Smart Car and so forth, and BMW interested in paid pilots. So, we had interest all over, and people willing to do pilots, and you have this extreme growth in the company. You're exhausted because you're working all the time, because the company is growing so fast, but you can't really keep up with the demand. And that's something that's also, you really don't have any life, you don't have a social life, and you just keep growing and growing and growing. And you have to sustain that growth. You have to ensure your numbers are right. You have to have a solid team that's willing to support you if things go bad. But it's not going to be easy. But there's a lot of learning to the process, to building any business, that I think any business person or founder or startup founder should take away from this. And that's not give up, to test and try, to build an MVP before you spend any serious capital in the actual business, and then to get some solid advisors and people involved to help you make it. And the reason is that you're up against competition that's trying to kill you. You're up against billion-dollar oil companies that can easily replicate you in a second. For example, if you go to a meeting and like with Total Ventures or whatever, BP Ventures, they can easily replicate your business, Shell, Tap Up, whatever. You're up against them as well. And so you have to, give them some information, but not all information that's going to let them to actually replicate the business very, very easily. You want them really to be a partner, to invest in you. So find a way to actually deal with them. So you're dealing with people all over the place, and you really have to be smart in the information that you're giving to people, that you're not giving to people, how you're doing it, how you're build a solid brand. One of the most important things is that your brand has a good reputation for being on time, because of course these large fleets, they need their vehicles to go out. They're delivering mail, let's say mail or packages, and they need their drivers to be able to function, because without fuel they can't function. So it's a really, really interesting experience. And make sure again to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I definitely want to give you some more advice on how to build a business, and keep you guys posted and how we can help. So make sure you join Founder Bounty. Thanks.